Okay guys, this is it, my comparison between the Moto X Pure or Moto X Style and the LG G4. What I now usually do is make kind of a double review, but I want to try to make things a little bit shorter, more compact this time, and I will give you just the objective differences between both of them and then my subjective opinion, which I think is better in each section. So let's just start off with design and build quality. First, check the size. As you can see, the Pure is a lot taller, but in terms of width, almost the same. But due to the nice curves of the LG, it actually feels a lot more compact. The LG is 5.5 inches, the Pure is 5.7, so what they accomplish in terms of narrow feel of the Pure is actually quite surprising. But the overall way more compact feeling device, also more comfortable in the hand and easier one-hand use still is the LG G4. The Moto X for me just feels a little bit unwieldy, but therefore it feels a lot more premium and a lot more substantial, which the LG doesn't feel so much. So the winner in terms of comfortable feel and in-hand feel is the LG, but in terms of premium feel, more substantial feel, more solid feel, it's definitely the Pure. Because we don't have to talk that much about the rest. The buttons are quite different. They are on the back here on the LG G4 and they are on the right side on the Pure. I definitely don't like each so much because I'm not the biggest fan of the power button on the back, but I think on the Pure it's just a little bit too high. It's a thing of personal preference. It doesn't make that much of a difference anyway, so that's definitely no deciding factor, and I will skip just the whole rest to talk about the important things. Now, let's check the display here. As you can maybe already see on the video, the Pure is a lot brighter. It definitely wins sunlight visibility. It's just a lot better in that department. The LG almost feels a little bit dull, especially compared side by side. Therefore, the LG, as you can maybe see here, has the way better blacks, because the Pure has this slight gray-red little tint over the screen, and the blacks just aren't that great. They are maybe just slightly above average, to be actually honest. Now, the white level though is a lot better, or at least a lot more precise on the G4. It's also a little bit colder. The Pure still is a little bit too warm calibrated in my opinion. In terms of colors, I also have to give it to the G4 because they're way more natural, way more accurate, just nicer to look at. The contrast is better, but the benefits on the Pure display are it just pops a lot more. It's more like an AMOLED display. It feels a lot more vivid, a lot more vibrant. So if you want the more pleasing to the eye, more impressive screen, more popping, then it's the Pure. If you want a more accurate feel, maybe don't need that high of a brightness, then the LG wins. Overall, I gotta say, I personally have a hard time choosing because the issue for me on the LG G4 is the precision towards the sides, because my gestures just wouldn't trigger as I wanted to always. Sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. It always works on the Pure. If that wouldn't been the case and I would have gotten all my gestures to work properly on the LG G4, I would have maybe gotten it because it's just more precise. But if you definitely want the more impressive, pleasing display, it's still the Pure. Now, let's check what we got in terms of sound. Okay, now let's do the same here. Okay, I guess this one is a no-brainer because we have front-facing stereo speakers on the Pure and one not even that great speaker on the LG back. So, way louder on the Pure, way nicer, a lot more free sound, definitely better stereo effect because we don't even have stereo on the LG G4. The G4 is loud enough in most cases, but it sounds a little bit muffled, therefore quite rich. But of course, it's no need to discuss that any further. The Pure sounds a lot better. Now, what about the performance? And here they are both very, very close. And here you can once again already see how much brighter the Pure is. So, as you can see, both work very nice in the browser. Both, for example, work very nice here. There are really tiny differences. There is one app where the other is a little bit better, and then there is another app where the other one is a little bit better. But here is quite a big difference, because here, as you can see on the G4, this app, for example, Feedly Reader, runs absolutely fine. but it stutters like crazy on the Pure. I noticed that this app has trouble on some CPUs or SoCs and on some not. But overall, I gotta say they are very close. The differences are so minor that it doesn't really have an impact. Gaming performance seemed ever so slightly better on the G4, but like I said, it's such a minor thing. Now let's get into the battery life. Both charge in about 1 hour and 20. There's maybe like a difference of 5 minutes, and both hold pretty much the same because I got pretty much 3.5 to 4 hours of my use on both. The differences though is the brightness that I used, because I used 35% on the Pure where I needed about 65 to 70% on the LG. This just shows how much earlier and how much brighter the Pure is. But otherwise, I gotta say, battery life is pretty much the same. The G4 seemed to have a slightly bit of an advantage in terms of standby brain, but not a whole lot. The last thing before I'm going to talk about the camera would be the software, and this is definitely the biggest thing of a personal preference after maybe something like the design, because we have pretty much stock Android on the Pure with a few enhancements like Moto Display, Moto Voice, Moto Assist and all that. Therefore, we got a little bit more of tweaking going on the LG G4, because we have a customizable navbar, we have customizable quick settings, we have lock screen shortcuts, we have double tap to wake, we have double tap to sleep, we have all those slight minor tweaks. Therefore, we don't have this nice stock UI look. It's definitely a thing of personal preference. I actually, just in terms of functionality, prefer the LG UI because it has all the things, all the features that I want or need. On the Pure, I would kind of need maybe a root for some, or maybe need a custom ROM for some to get a few things, because I just prefer, for example, the back button on the right, which I can't just access without any customization on the Pure. It's definitely a thing of mine. If you want more stock look, it's definitely the Pure. If you want a little bit more functionality, but still, it's okay. It's definitely maybe not the most nicest designed UI, but still. Now, the camera would be the last thing to talk about. And here, the winner is the G4, which wasn't really that much of a surprise since it's one of the most respected cameras. But this doesn't mean the Pure has a bad camera. The Pure has a really nice camera, even slightly sharper in some situations. Both are very nicely, both have great saturation, great color accuracy, exposure is very well, and the G4 just does everything slightly better. The biggest difference maybe would be the low light performance, where the LG G4 wins. Video capabilities were also great on both. If you want to know a little bit more about all the rest that I was talking here about, just watch each one's review. The one for the Pure will be out, I guess, one day after this review or this comparison. So let's break it down just real quick once again. Slightly more compact feel, better feel in hand, just more comfortable and easier to use with one hand, here the LG. Better premium feel, better substantial feel, the Pure. Display, really hard to decide. If you want something more accurate, more realistic, more natural, go for the G4. If you want something more pleasing, more impressive, then the Pure. Sound, no discussion here, the Pure wins, just pretty much better in every aspect. Performance is so close. Maybe if I would have to choose a winner, then I would ever so slightly give it to the G4, but that's like maybe 2 or 3% of a difference. Battery life, pretty much the same. If I would have to choose a winner, maybe by, once again, like maybe max 5%, the Pure seemed to reach closer to 4 hours, a little bit easier than I got with the G4. Software, your personal preference. If you want a stockish feel, go for the Pure. If you want a little bit more functionality and don't mind maybe the lesser beautiful design, go for the G4. Camera, absolutely great on both. So you see, pretty much whatever you choose, for whichever you go, is a personal preference, and you don't do anything wrong. Both have a great experience. To maybe break it down, if you want the more media device, the better media consumption device, because of the speakers, because of the really pleasing display, bigger display, better sound, then I think it would be the right one to choose the Pure. If you want the slightly better camera, the more natural feel, don't mind the lesser sound so much, and want a little bit more of a compact, maybe easier to use with one hand device, then it's the G4. Software, like I said, it's for you to decide. And I think I've pretty much did give you all my information. The rest, like I said, is in each one's review. I hoped I was objective enough. Of course, there will be always people who just prefer the one brand or the other. Personally, if I would have to choose one, I would have a hard time, because for me personally, they both have at least one deal breaker. On the G4, it's the slightly less responsive touchscreen for me. The sound that just isn't that great, and the just a decent battery life. On the Pure, for me, it's the size. It's just a tad too big for me. Battery life is also just decent, and the screen is a little bit too bright, but that's not really an issue. So I think most people will get a little bit happier with the Pure, but I definitely see everyone, and I get why some people definitely would prefer the G4. I think I am done. I hope this video was helpful in any way for you. Otherwise, leave it in the comments if you have any questions as well. If you like this video, you know what to do. Please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel for more. Okay, until next time, bye.